It's a very fine line you want to play with that one.
I didn't even hear the joke. I don't even know what we're playing with. Well,
We're so unsure about the future of our campaign that we are already back pocketing new characters.
I think we all have one.
I don't know. I think you'd probably be in the minority to have another character ready to go.
I have to do 3. Oh,
You should see my D&D.
Yeah, man. I wonder how much that would suck, Jeremy.
well, you know, when life gives you lemons, you shoot your brother's PC 45 times with an elite elven archer squad.
Still not my fault. Didn't start that fight. Hello, everybody. Welcome to exploring the actual exploring the archives. By the way.
Oh, look at that!
Yeah, I forgot.
Porting the
I
archives.
forgot to.
It's changed.
I knew it felt different.
It felt different.
And why is that? No, it's the background's not.
It's not all lively.
There we go. There you go. Actually exploring the archives now. Well, everybody, welcome. We are discussing chapter 25, titled.
Spare the rod.
Thank you. No, I'm gonna be 100%. What does that mean?
Spare the rod or spoil the child. It's a proverb. Spare the rod means if you don't, beat your kids, that they'll grow up spoiled. So
Gotcha.
in the episode, we spared the rod by not murder hoboing our way to the credits.
Not killing everybody to the.
We should thank the Roberts.
Yeah.
There's our credits.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's real quick. It
Just
just
put every follower we have or subscriber in that. It
I'm just gonna. Yeah. It just says us. Just one line. Yeah. Da.
But it was a very interesting episode chapter because the party was challenged outside of their combat zone and more into their negotiation tactics, which I'm not gonna lie. We'll get into.
I'll lie.
But I'll lie. You guys did good.
I'll lie.
But to start the episode off, you all started in the snow, or a few days out from the Snowdrop Inn. It was actually nighttime, and you all were bunking down and taking different watches. Predominantly in the watch, June was playing around with a new spell of hers. Cthulhu had a pretty emotional moment with his musical box. And the most exciting thing was that you found people lurking in the shadows of the complete darkness. The shadows of the complete darkness.
Shadows in the shadows.
The shadows of the darkness. That were apparently stalking all of you. As well as, I'm glad I didn't forget this, Cthulhu was asked to help Uradin in a prayer. I almost forgot about that, sorry. That was also very important. But later in the chapter, Cthulhu, pretty headstrong, raced towards two figures that were in the shadows of the darkness and found a small fishing hut on a lake. And the party itself found them at odds with a group of bandits, adventurers, not really sure, travelers, that were holding the owner of the home hostage that you found out later. And through a lot of checks, a lot of roleplay, and some luck, you all managed to
with a shitty wisdom roll,
send them all away and to not fight, much to my chagrin.
Yeah, that episode got pretty chaotic. I was so nervous the whole time, and a good nervous, like everything matters at this moment.
Yeah.
Every roll, every word, every footstep forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're definitely going to be diving into that. I guess we'll save the meat of it for the end, but during the watches, I guess we can talk about the shirts you're wearing.
Well, I was just saying that. I just noticed that my headphones match my shirt.
Yeah.
I'm a stylish boy.
But I guess to kick everything off, we'll talk about Uridin's prayer and Cthulhu helping him. And I'll start with Uridin. Was it your plan all along to ask him for help, or was that kind of off the cuff?
It was absolutely off the cuff. After our discussion about God's previous episode chapter, yeah, kind of like, you know, he was just, Erdin's been doing this blind this whole time, and he's like, well, this guy's got some holiness all up in him, so why not? Fuck it.
It's got some holiness
Filled
in
of
him.
holiness.
That's how I refer to my father.
Damn right. I'm Erdin's dad now. Canon.
Yep,
Wait, what?
you said
Even
it.
though Erdin's older than me.
Nope, he said it. It happened. Just call them episode chapters. This week's episode chapter. That's all right.
Chapisode.
Yep.
Chapisode.
Chapisode.
Epter.
And then we have to, every intro we say, "What's up, chaps?"
Boo.
We're gonna do that now.
Boo.
Confuse the DM. Yes.
Cade, were you caught off guard when he asked you?
Yeah, I really was. That was the, like, going into the chapter, I didn't think there would be a lot of, you know, conversation between Erdin and Cthulhu, because, like, we kind of ended it, last session, we ended it being like, yep, you're gonna go do your own thing, I'm gonna go do my own thing, like, I hope the best for you, but have fun kind of thing. And then start of the episode, he was like, can you help me? And I was like, oh shit, I was not prepared.
Now we
That was
gotta
a good
now we
moment,
gotta
though.
pretend.
How you walked him through it was really good. Just like the choice of words that you used is like, I mean, yeah, Uridin has Cord, but it's almost like Trandoshan's in Star Wars, where they just have like a scorekeeper. They don't like sit and pray. They just do the deeds on behalf of like their deity. So I thought it was fun watching Uridin be like, he's like, you know, I see you do the pray, and can you help me? That's my best. I can't do Uridin's voice, but yeah, that was really fun. And then Cthulhu being like, you know, the super religious person of our group, or more outwardly, I should say, not being like, oh yes, do you want to pray to Photis? Like, not trying to reel him into, like, you just guided him really well. And yeah, it was fun watching both of those different worlds of belief. Like one where it's like constantly praying and going to blacksmiths and making the symbols and plugging Photis' temple down south, and Uridin's just kind of like, every time I shoot and kill, Court is very happy.
He is a Mutterhopo.
So if
Yeah.
Eddie's ever not here, Jeremy, you're filling in.
I'll do my best. Are they hugging in a segment? I will shoot them with my arrow. This one says
Combined.
badass motherfucker.
Motherfucker.
Spork, sporkity spork.
Yeah.
That's Erdin's human centipede right there.
Oh god.
What?
Human spork.
Oh no. Oh
How
god.
did we get to centipede for that? No, we're done.
Connecting the human.
I'm no anding in this right now.
No, that joke's over. So gross. So much ew. Ecclesias, did you just have a pretty good nap the whole time?
How do you mean?
Were you just sleeping the whole time? I don't remember if you took a watch.
No, I didn't take a watch. I cozied up in my tent.
In your haberdashery?
Yeah, I didn't. I was gonna make a attempt to commune with Lord Vale, my master Vale. Because even
I'm
though,
proud of you. You got it right this time.
well, because there's Valeos and Vale.
Yeah, I didn't
Right.
plan that well.
And then there's probably gonna be a Master Valeheim. But
Valios.
I was gonna take a moment to try to to talk to Master Vale, but there's already a lot going on, and I wanted to, like, as a player, I wanted to keep things moving forward, how it was. So, and I figured there would be time to do it, but and not to deviate for why I was gonna do it. But like, Ecclesias is new to this party, even though he feels like he's a cemented part of it, but he's been with like the assembly for a long time, and it kind of gave him stability. So even though all these shenanigans with like the bureau and the usurping of Mayor Fairstone, and which seemed like an unsanctioned overtaking from the Utheronian kingdom. So there's all these different pieces that are moving around, and Ecclesias still is nervous to even bring up any reservations with like his loyalty, because he's still not sure about like the collective parts of him. But that's kind of his upbringing, because he up until he met the assembly, he didn't have like a good foundation of people that had his back, and he still hasn't had a good foundation of people that have his back unconditionally, which is why I think he's still nervous to just commune and with Master Vale. And I think there's still a part of him that is worried that his new friends are right, but he doesn't want to face it yet. So there was like other thoughts as to why I didn't want to just, okay, well, everybody's praying and doing cool shit, I'm gonna do cool shit in private in the tent too, and then add another element to the episode. I figure that can be something for future date if we
Right.
get the chance and I don't die somehow next episode.
The fisherman's actually the Goliath, and you all get fish stabbed.
He was a void dragon.
Da-na-na-na-na-na.
Going back to the prayer, so does this mean that we're gonna get more prayers?
For me,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, definitely.
Are you gonna? Was like Cthulhu just like, how do you do one? Like, what's the beginning, middle, end, and then I got it from now on? Or
There's probably gonna be like a few times early on where Erden tries it by himself, and then he's gonna, try to do it with a group.
yeah, keep going with this sentence.
Keep doing it. First you start by yourself.
And then
Yeah,
you
then
do
you
it with
get
the group.
and you want to experiment with other people and see how that works out, and then
Canon, Uriden's a slut.
Does Uriden have any because you were trying to pray to Cord, right? You weren't trying to pray to Folders, you were just trying to like do a actual structured prayer, right?
yeah, it was basically cut out Foltus, copy paste Chord, and basically his prayer routine.
Maybe this is like too much of a sneak peek, but has Uriden seen or like actually talked to Cord, or has it kind of always been like this, behind the shadow overlord that stemmed from the Orc clan? I know it's a lot to reveal, so don't reveal if you don't
No,
want to.
I actually said it, I think, in the chapter, that I've never physically seen Chord in person. I've only had visions and flashes of things that he's been trying to tell me in messages.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
this
the
is like
idea.
oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say this is like a weird offspin of that question, but if another god reached out to like Uriden, would he be like baffled or torn from his own religion?
It would take a lot of convincing for that to happen. He's pretty, dead set in it with Chord. He's got the values, and he kind of reached out.
And I imagine it would take a big moment to. It would. I mean, I feel like a lot of times with role playing gods is that like we create the backstory and we don't really play through it. So even though it's a part of our character, it doesn't mean as much because we haven't played sessions that had, like for instance, if Zio had that aging curse before we met anybody, and that was just part of his background, it probably wouldn't have affected him as much if that it actually happening on the episode. So like the idea of having like a god for however old your characters are, like 20 plus years maybe, that it's unlikely that a single episode would shake that so bad that you'd be like, all right, new god. It had to almost be like Cord comes down, he's like, show me what you got. He's just like, actually fuck you. And then another god's like, well, if you don't want Cord to be your Sky Daddy, I can be yours. And like, oh, it had to be like some really big thing to happen. Yeah.
When you said
Yeah,
Sky Daddy, it just
exactly.
made me think of Sky Guy.
Sky Guy. People hated that so much when that first came out, and now it's so
because
because
it's stupid.
yeah. Well, it's just like calling Ahsoka Snips.
I like Snips better than Sky Guy.
Sky Guy. At least he didn't call him like Walker Boy. I don't know.
Walkman. He's a Walkman.
Walker.
Walkman. All right, Master Walker Boy.
Wally Wonka. Um,
But yeah, as far
so-
as like the deities and stuff like that, it's also strange from like my perspective as a play or as a character rather, because like the melting pot and kind of growing up on the road and stuff. It's like I've heard stories but to like see all these characters really devout, it's exciting. It's like going to like a circus almost and being like, oh, this is what they do. Ooh, do your praying more. I want to see your God. Bring him to me.
I don't know if you can answer this because this is probably going to be way too meta, but what's the meaning of the storm on Erdon's personal arrow?
Oh yeah, that will be revealed later.
Okay, yeah, I figured that'd be way too meta, but so I only have one question for Cthulhu in regards of his scene, because everything else that could be asked would be revealing stuff that needs to be revealed in character first, but you interpreted the green light as your mom saying goodbye, correct? Or
Yes.
saying hello or something.
That was heavy.
Why did you interpret it as such and not as maybe an omen from somebody else or a darker omen or something like that?
Because
Why did Cthulhu, I should say.
yeah, Cthulhu saw it as a. He looked at it and saw the light, and in my brain, and in Cthulhu's brain, it reminded him of the same green that his mom was, and the green that he is. And so he brought that connection together and saying, "Oh, well, this is my mom," because this was a box that my mom gave me that reminded me of the melody that she used to play
Oh yeah.
at night. Like whenever I would have trouble sleeping, she would come in there and like play that little melody and just let me go and drift off to sleep. So he saw that little green and was like, that is her final goodbye to me.
I
Until
love
can
that
see her again."
juxtaposition. How like Cthulhu, you had like a warm, loving mother that played you a musical note and like kissed you on the forehead, and then like Uridan comes from this clan. It's like, we murder, and I wanted to murder different, so I left, and now I'm to be murdered.
Yeah, that is like that contrast of also like him having keepsake of his parent. All right, Frankie.
Big yawn.
But just like the connection of, you know, his parents or his mother at least has passed, and he has keepsakes, and Erden's like, I don't know what my parents are doing.
Yeah, they could be wanting to kill me right now.
He flash cut to just like a mob with pitchforks and torches, like my
In the
parents are in it.
Yeah. Not in the front line, but you just pick out their faces.
Well, I think that has to do that like Eridan's parents, to your knowledge, are still alive.
Yeah, to his knowledge.
And
I
to
mean, maybe his
Cthulhu's
tribe
knowledge,
did something.
it's like they're deader than dead. Like,
And
They're
yet
gone.
neither of you know.
yeah,
I was gonna
Cthulhu
say,
doesn't
if
know.
D&D tells us one thing, is that like if you don't kill anybody yourself in your backstory, the DM will eventually do something with them.
Why is his mustache so long? How's it even possible?
genetics.
The twirling.
Fantasy French.
That's fantasy French. I have been, because Jeremy, it's been a minute since you've been on the show. I have been itching to ask you ever since you got that fucking ring. Do you have any intention to maybe sell that to Velos?
I honestly I had not considered that yet. It might, if he brings it up, I think, but there's a new freeing aspect with Ecclesias. Like I mentioned, he's been so he wants to have like a clan, like a family, like people that just want him around.
Mhm.
So I feel like there's new freedoms kind of opening up with Ecclesias not constantly like fetch questing all the
Mhm.
time for people. That like this is his new shiny, and since
Right.
it was like given to him and I wasn't sent there to go get it necessarily, even though like Master Velos was like, yeah, there's a thing there we might be able to use. I think there's a part of Ecclesias that was like, well, I can just take this and no one will have to know. Unless I go back and I'm just like, Master Velos, and he's like, grabs my hand, looks at it. Oh yeah, no, I found that. I found that underneath a tree that I cut the tree that I cut down, and it was under the root. And okay, here you go.
Master gave Dobby a sock.
Oh my god.
I know, yeah. I think it was on Twitter, actually. Or it might have been, no, it was on TikTok. In the chat thread was, parents tell me to do the dishes. I throw a sock at them. They hand me the sock. And they're like, what was this for? And it's like, you gave me a sock. I'm free. And you run to your room.
Yeah, no cap. Harry Potter's sleight of hand to, I don't know if you noticed, but he lifts up his robe and he shows that it was his sock. He has like tightly laced dress shoes, and we've all wore tightly dressed or laced like dress shoes. So this motherfucker slides his foot off, pulls his sock, puts it in the book, slides the book to Dobby, puts his shoes back on, drops his robes, and he's just like, I'm only 13. Like that all happens.
You know, all of that
It's
happens
quick.
when there might just be a spell.
No, I need
That's-
realistic
I need
explanations.
realistic sleight of hand in my magic movie.
How does
No,
Rey know
c-
healing? How does she know?
Because the spell is give Dobby a sock is the spell exactly.
Cause the Force. Next question.
Dobby gets sock.
And then he
Yeah,
buried him in like
I've,
3 inches of beach sand. You know his body's like unearthed by now.
Right. And I've been the reason I've been thinking about that too is because the selling it to Velos is because I didn't know if Ecclesias would be like, oh, I could sell this and then potentially get everybody something somewhat cool.
Well, this is actually a fun question for the DM that would normally happen on Friday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over at the Twitch. But
You mean here?
yeah, over at the Twitch.
Over
Is-
on here.
Yeah,
Over on here.
whatever Twitch you happen to find yourself on. But would Ecclesias know that if I use a ring, because remember when we found like the Eye of Berser, I didn't touch it, I didn't, or even like any of that stuff. I put it in a cloth. I didn't try to attune to it because I knew it was for somebody else. This one I attuned to it, so now it's technically attached to me. Would I know, or would Ecclesias know that it devalues it, or if that's like a no-no if I want to like sell it back to somebody? Like, you can't just find an item, use it for a little bit, and then sell it.
You would know with magic items probably that. I mean, I guess it's a case-by-case basis, but you would know on the whole generally, as long as you're not abusing the weapon or the item to the point like Voldemort did to the
Elder
Wand, to the point where it's like breaking. You know, as long as you're not doing that stuff, it is probably fine.
Okay.
Unless
So-
it's like, a very rich lord's like, find this, and then it's like, don't, bink, found it. Here,
Yeah.
you can here.
Choo choo choo.
Right. Yeah. Then maybe it'd be bad, but yeah, you'd probably assume that there'd be no problem with it.
Question.
I'm excited to actually use that. Like, not
And
in
not
dreams.
kill your friends almost.
Yeah, yeah.
This brings up a new question. If Ecclesias didn't like know that if he knew earlier that his assembly, sorry, not bureau, was
Same.
was like more connected to the bad side, would he have not returned that ring, or would he have still like done his job, even though he was knowingly giving this to maybe a very evil and powerful human being?
Oh yeah, Ecclesias would not give that ring back if he knew and there was evidence and things that can corroborate that that assembly was doing some tomfuckery. Yeah, he would feel better knowing that it was in his hands or his powers. He's like, here you go, potentially BBEG. Here's a ring that can zap everybody.
I was about to say, because Cthulhu saw like the magical essence and like the strong tie to the the type of magic it was, and was like, this could fuck somebody up.
Yeah, it still will. I haven't technically used it yet.
That's true. Alrighty. So I did want to devote most of the show to the encounter at the later half of the show.
Oh yeah.
Um, So to start off, Cade, what was Cthulhu thinking alone, charging into an unknown middle of the darkness, has no information fight, and telling almost no one?
What Cthulhu thought of is that it's better off that and this is going to get kind of like weirdly sappy, but Cthulhu knew that it was better off that he dies and everyone else is safe
Mm-hmm.
than possibly dragging everybody up to go get murdered. Because Cthulhu,
Wake
What?
up! Time to die.
Yeah.
basically Cthulhu thought like if these were really powerful, because Cthulhu could in his brain he knows he's powerful, but still humbled by the fact that he can fall, and knew that he could take on two middle of the wood rogue people that just want to steal goods. But if it was more of like those two people were the Goliath and the master boy of the Goliath, he knew that it was better off that he charges ahead and gets murdered so that the Goliath has his, his time to shine, or Cthulhu fights back and has his time to shine before the party gets murked by the Goliath. And he also knew like there's a thought in his head that he just wants to see his mom again, and he's just constantly putting himself into that like weird
To see his
pressure of
mom.
like where, yeah,
So
what will happen.
To extend off the first point, I don't know if Cade's thought of this. Now, don't you think if you went and died, then that would mean that your friends would die easier?
Oh yeah.
Because you are
Well-
now not there to help the group fight?
Well, it didn't come to Cade's mind. In Cthulhu's mind, he knew like if he died, he has enough valuable stuff on him that a normal robber or thief would be like, ooh, and grab and instantly like run away before, because he also has like plate armor that's heavy as fuck to carry, and then
Right.
his sword and shield that is really heavy. So he knew like it would take enough time and enough effort to just take me than to try to escort and like figure out how to
Right.
get the rest of the stuff.
Unless
in
it was the
group.
jockey, because he just noped.
Yeah, he can nope anybody.
So,
And that's like
to finish
Poor
off the round
Cinder.
in question on that, now Kane, not Cthulhu, Kane, now that I made the point of if you die, your party's weaker, do you think you might be like, maybe stick with them?
oh yeah, no.
Don't
Like,
you know?
In Cade's mind, it's like that's the thing, is it's playing the character, and the
Well, even
character
Cthulhu, do you think Cthulhu would think that if I die and they continue to go fight my friends, maybe they'd be better off if we all fought together?
Well, that's the problem. Is Cthulhu was like in a really like, and I tried to roleplay it as
Mhm.
Cthulhu is in like a really unstable mental state, where he's just like, "Fuck, I don't want to be here right now." He saw it as like a either an opportunity to shine to take out Chaos himself, and then he knew like he was like, and in Cthulhu's mind, he's not very powerful compared to like June and
Mhm.
Ecclesias and Uridan, because he's the only one to fall fully other than Sven. Sven and him have been the only ones to fall. Cthulhu has fallen multiple times, like
Because I'm
Fighting.
160 yards back, baby.
True.
pretty much. But Cthulhu has fallen against Lenin, like he was dying
Something.
against Lenin, and then he also died, or technically was unconscious against the jockey and the Goliath. So he knew like he's not very confident in his own ability to fight as a team, and he feels like he will bring the whole level of the like squad down. So it's
Right.
almost like in a weird way, he tried to fight, but knew when he went out there, it could be a suicide run.
Yeah.
So I just thought of a question. I'm totally not getting my notes down. What do you think it will take for Cthulhu to stop being so reckless?
I have a
To
follow-up
know-
question.
Right.
I'm just
to
kidding,
know-
but legitimately, what do you,
to finally find his true purpose, because right now he's confused of why Foltus wouldn't let him see his mom, and he was confused. He's been like thinking about it constantly. He's like, why won't I be able to see her? What is going on? Is she still here? Like, what the fuck is going on? He needs to find a purpose or somebody to live for. It feels like he's weighing down the group, and until he finds like that factor of like, this is what happened and this is who's here, here's your family that you saw, and here's like your childhood and your love and everything, he is gonna keep trying to just perpetually put himself into this weird like robotic state of just mania, just like
Right.
I will either prove myself
Looking
or
for
not
your own
trying
answers
to.
instead of the
Yeah.
universe giving them to
Yeah.
you in the universe's time.
I had a quick follow-up question
Go
about
for it.
Cthulhu's recklessness, and does Cthulhu legitimately think that Ecclesias is more powerful than him?
He thinks everybody is. He thinks Zio is. Well, okay. He doesn't
Zio
think.
makes
I was
sense.
gonna say,
Z-
what?
Zio,
He
yeah,
does, so he doesn't think Zio's more powerful than him, but he thinks Zio has more of a social hierarchy than him. He thinks Uriden's more powerful. He's scared of June because of what he's seen June's eyes just go
everybody's
into this-
scared of Jude.
right? He's seen June's eyes just like completely go into these like spidery manic state whenever Sven happened, and he was
I feel like June's got that Sansa after the whole Ramsay Bolton situation where she just becomes like cool, collective, and sharp and spooky as fuck.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
when she looks at you, she just like does one of these.
and then a Cthulhu
And
sees like the
anytime that
power
happens,
you
I'm just gonna put the gif of a Hydra just
Yeah, the beat
Yeah.
Joe Black.
just beating the shit out of just a random
just humble
thing.
it. Just humble it a little. Sorry to
Because
keep
but
going.
yeah, the whole with Cthulhu, because like Cthulhu's like a warrior. I mean, you have weapon. Like I have, Ecclesias has a fucking boomerang. Like he's Ecclesias is a scientist. I mean, in a certain sense, like he's almost like an archaeologist, like item collector. Like that's why like when you guys first met him and he was like, yeah, so this is the group of adventurers that will be taking me to meet my contact. And then throughout the way, he's like, so you guys say you don't fight, but like literally we've been fighting everything. So he's like
Well,
nervous. That's why he
that's
like
the
runs
thing,
around.
yeah.
He's like, I believe in you. I believe in you. I believe in you. I
Well,
believe in you."
Cthulhu sees like the power that you uphold. Like you hold like a ring that can literally put out beams of lightning and just shit like that. So he sees like you have power, and he sees Uriden's arrows just
Technically, you haven't seen that yet. That was in the dream.
no, because I saw it because you put it up. You put them up on the camp. You put 4 orbs around whenever we were camping.
No, he didn't.
No, I
Oh, you
redacted
You
it.
did do
never
a arcana or a detect magic, and I told you it was enchantment, but you don't know how strong it is yet.
Yeah.
But he told you that
But-
it's fucking powerful. Wrong character. But you got
Fucking powerful.
yeah.
I haven't done that one I haven't done that accent. in a while.
So yeah, no,
Oh,
he
look at
sees like
Frankie.
he sees like the connection to the not the collective. Fuck me, but he
Assembly?
sees your connection to the assembly, and like he sees like that can be really powerful. He sees Uriden's arrows that are really powerful. He sees June's magic, and it's just like fuck. I just worship a god and hope for the best.
That's fun that you mentioned that because even like with Master Velos, like, yes, Ecclesias. It like
Oh,
I don't know,
Cthulhu's creeped out by that guy.
Ecclesias.
it's not. Well, the fun thing about it is that like I feel like I'm starting to rewatch Game of Thrones, so forgive the another reference to it, but I feel like Sam at the wall where I'm just like I'm not going to get any better. Like it's just I feel like I'm there because or with you guys because I mean he's electing to be there, but like with the assembly and stuff like that, it was I was just like a straggler on the road. So they're like, oh yes, we're a bunch of powerful wizards who bamf in and out of multiple dimensions and infinite time and space, and we'll get like a broomstick that can make you fly faster than normal, and then we'll give it to a client. And I'm like, okay, so can I go grab something like easier or something like that? Like, can I, like, so it's yeah, like, and then when he walks in, and Master Velos is like, did you have your friends wipe their feet? Because I just feel like it's like an annoying stepdad almost, and it's like, oh yes, Master Velos, I am sorry.
That actually
You know,
stems into another
it's
question.
funny because one thing about like the feet wiping thing is one thing I'm interested to see your guys' reaction to and stuff like that is when you find different, for the lack of a better term, chapters of the assembly. If they're the same, if they're different, if they're like as fancy, you know, because that was like very like fancy and well-to-do. You know, you have floating trays that give you whatever drink you want, so it's very, you know, high kept.
Sugar water.
But if like places like in, you know, Uthran, for instance, if, you know, they're a little more laid back, more tavernish, you know, stuff like that, it'll be interesting to see what you guys find and like what your reactions are to it, and be like, did you wipe your feet? Go dirty them. Bring them back.
Yeah.
Go dirty them.
How dare you?
Well, this brings a weird question in. What does like Uriden and Ecclesias both think of the party? Because now like Cthulhu, as Cthulhu, I've kind of expressed like how I see each member of the party.
Really quick
Like,
before
what-
we get off that, because on it, Jay, he answered your question, so you're good there. These are meh at best. I don't really like them to answer that question. And to finish up on Uridan or on Cthulhu, where's the exact wording so I don't fuck it up? Do you think Alar is more powerful?
No.
In all quotes, say it.
He doesn't. So he knows Uridan has, or not Uridan, sorry, Alar has like a weird ability that Cthulhu doesn't fully comprehend, like the raging aspect of a barbarian. He doesn't comprehend what that is. He hasn't seen it before, or if he has, he was very young. And so when he sees it, he's like, what is this? Like, what is this innate ability that he has? Like, what did his ancestors? He just knows he thinks Alar is wiser because of his age and because that's how he was raised. And when he went to the temple, that's also how the hierarchy kind of worked, is the oldest one was like the wisest person. So he sees Alar and goes, he knows what he's fucking talking about. Like, he knows like a lot about the North and stuff like that. He knows,
And he's
like,
very patient too. And I feel like
He's
with
very
Cthulhu being
patient,
like
yeah.
not crackpot, firecracker, and just instinctively reacting to things, and like even like Uridan's patience, like Alar just has like this. I mean, Alar is older than everybody by at least 50 something years, and he's lived in the hard North. So, yeah, the idea that he just at every moment he's like, well, why don't we actually talk to these people as opposed to just fucking kapla? Even though he's the Battleborn, which is it's silly.
Weird,
that
yeah.
he's
Can
so
we just do a
reserved.
And see,
chapter where
that-
Jeremy plays every character?
And that's what confuses Cthulhu too, because his name is the Battleborn, but he's the most like pacifist other than Ecclesias.
Yeah.
He's the most pacifist one. Like, that's like, okay, let's talk. Like, he wanted to talk to the Goliath, and Cthulhu saw that and was like, your name is literally Alar the Battleborn. Like,
Battleborn.
what the fuck?
For people that need names. Well,
Right,
it's like the he's been in so many encounters that it's like the Gandalf quote, like courage is not knowing when to take a life but when to spare one. So it seems like somebody who's easily frightened would be more apt to be like overtly offensive by like being defensive preemptively,
Yeah.
and somebody who's fought a lot, like an MMA fighter, won't like go to like a bar and like somebody bumps into them and they're like, oh yeah, like they're more controlled. That's
Yeah,
MMA, right, guys? You motherfucker!
Oh! Well, that's the thing, is Cthulhu's confused of like, he knows Alar's powerful in his own sense, but he still thinks he can kick Alar's ass because of how cocky Alar is with him. Like, Cthulhu and Alar both have like this weird, yeah, I know, right? It's basically that. It's this like wishy-washy, like, I'm more powerful than you, like, let's fight. And then Alar uses like his magical ability, so Cthulhu thinks it's able to use his magical ability, and then it's just counted as cheating. Like, it's this whole weird,
You guys
like,
are
dynamic.
basically brothers. That's what it's boiling
right?
down to.
It's basically is. It's
Yeah.
oh, I muted myself. It's like Cthulhu and Alar are like these two like twin brothers that are just like, fuck you, no fuck you, like, kind of thing.
Speaking of Alar, I have a quick question for, or not Alar, of Uridan. You mentioned his power, and if this is sidetracking, we can skip over it. But is Uridan progressively getting a little more antsy to keep moving, knowing that you're being tracked, or does it kind of go to the back of your mind because you know that they might be really, really far away?
It's kind of both. He doesn't want to linger too long in one spot, but at the same time is aware of the things that we're trying to figure out and our objectives too. So he doesn't want to press too hard, but he's also like, okay, we stayed here long enough, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
All right.
Does Alar think or not Alar? Sorry, Uridan think he's being tracked all the way up north like we are right now?
He doesn't think, he knows.
So
Who knows?
Alar. Fuck, dude, I keep saying Alar because I've talked about him now. But
Do you want Nick here? I can leave.
no, no, absolutely not. But does like Uridan thinks he's always being tracked even up so high as Uthran, because you are from like, you're not from where I am as Ket Bredan, but you are from like somewhere around, if not close to, that far south. Because that's what Cthulhu thinks. Cthulhu thinks you are from like the other clan of where he's from.
I'm not exactly sure of the map. Erden knows more than I do.
Well, it's the
Um,
only one inside maps, but
You can
I
find it in Discord and maps, cause it's the
I-
only fucking photo in maps.
yeah, I don't know if you can answer that yet because none of it's really come out in character.
Yeah, dude.
Unless
I
you have
want
a
to
clever way
like,
of answering
yeah.
that, I can't.
see.
think
That's
of one.
that's Cthulhu. Cthulhu thinks you're from somewhere other than the Batala clan. That's where he thinks. He thinks like you are either you're not for like I've never seen you before, so you're not a part of my clan, but you are either part of one of the three main powers that build up like the half-orc tribe.
Only fucking Japanese.
mayhaps.
And that's the thing. It's like I'm
Mayhaps.
confused.
Yeah, I'll let that come out in character. Maybe we'll figure that out.
Cthulhu wanted to ask you, but you started praying, and I was like, oh.
So we'll
I don't mean
get,
to interrupt, but
we'll get a little bit more on track. So with everything coming up, so obviously I was messaging Eddie in Discord about the guy that snuck up on him. So what I did was I had him roll a perception check versus the guy's stealth check, even though it should have been against your passive. But I was like, let's give you a chance because I don't want you to feel like I'm like, nope, you're hostage now. So, but you, I think rolled like 11 or 12, whatever it was like literally one lower than his roll. He rolled pretty shit. What was going through your head that you couldn't quickly message me during the campaign?
That you might boot somebody from Discord again on accident.
no, that I wanted to boot somebody from Discord on
And
purpose.
then I, boop.
No, I mostly was just trying to figure out like where to position myself and be tactical. I was just really in depth.
After he took you hostage?
Oh,
Yeah, like
after?
what was
Sorry,
your
I
like? Yeah,
misinterpreted.
once he like bolt to the back, like what was going through your head? Were you like, I fucked up? Were you like, what's go? Like what was happening? Especially since, because if I have it, I will, because you know it's not like, oh no, you can't say that. I want to. Where are you? There it is. What I said exactly was, as you're by the dock, you feel a sharp point of a crossbow bolt stuck directly into your back, and you hear a voice say, be quiet, or it will be the last thing you say. So what was going through your head?
I'm literally first thought, fucking Cthulhu's gonna get me killed.
Yes! I'm glad.
That
I
was
don't think
my
you're the only one with that thought.
my very first thought, and then I was like, okay. And then I started thinking of ways of, can I do some kick-ass tuck and rolls out of this? No, probably not. I'll die. And then we went to break.
That's true.
I love that.
Should've
Wait,
just
so
taken
did
bolt.
Uridan really think like Cthulhu is gonna be the reason he dies?
Probably, yes. He was like, someone. He was like, someone. No, Cthulhu's gonna run his mouth, and this guy's gonna get agitated, and he's gonna sever my spine.
So I do want to say thank you to Eddie, because I know a lot of players, I'm not saying like anybody necessarily here, but I know a lot of players, even me, would probably be like, well, it's just a crossbow. I could take 1d8, you know what I mean? So
Right.
I thank you for being like, yeah, no, this guy has like an arrow directly into my spine. This would kill me, you know?
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, I know it's a game of dice and chance, but it's still like when you're in the character like that, and
Your
you wanna
character
play
would
it-
be like, I can take a few of these.
Right.
So
Yeah,
now, So
exactly.
now I go to
I'm
this
bulletproof.
point.
Happy Gilmore.
I mean, even with that, you know, if you guys were like sneaking up, and maybe unless it was like the BBEG or something like that, like if you guys like did really well to get into like someone's tent and they're sleeping, and the rogue's like, I put my knife in his throat. It's like there's really hard for me to be like, there's a lot of
Roll
mechanic,
initiative.
right? You know, it's like, oh, and then like,
I'm
you know
ready
what
to
I mean?
fight you.
You with
You
my
know,
own
Don't
day.
do that 13 more times.
So like stuff like that, you know, I would try to be like, yeah, no, you probably just kill him, you know, roll damage, but
For
you
sure.
probably just kill him.
So now I kind of off spin it. Are you like surprised of how Cthulhu acted towards that like gesture of I'm gonna kill your friend?
Me?
No, Uridan.
Me.
And actually, that also extends to like the DM and Jeremy.
My answer is really quick. You were one step away from him shooting.
I was literally, yeah. Basically, I was like, God damn it, he's one step away from me getting shot.
Yeah. Between you and June not listening to what he said, yeah.
Yeah, I was worried about that too with June.
Oh
creeping
my
up on
god, me too.
Indivisible.
And by the way, his passive perception was 12, and I think that's exactly what you rolled.
She exactly rolled the 12.
It could not have been any more. Fuck. And that was with
It's like-
advantage, so you got really fucked, June.
It's like Halo camouflage, where like you don't
Yeah.
see them, but then like they just move, and you're like, why did that
Oh,
tree
yeah.
just turn into 17 triangles for a second?
Little ripple.
17 triangles!
Just light up over there.
Well, what? Actually, another kind of off-stem question. Oh wait, I didn't let Erden respond to that. Or did
No,
you?
I mean, I basically did. I was just waiting for you to. Either you were gonna get me killed, or Alar was just gonna go into a blind rage, and I was gonna get dead.
It's gonna get deaded. Yeah, I was really worried, like as Ecclesias too, because like I mentioned earlier that I asked you guys, like, are you guys usually violent? Like, are you guys find yourself usually fighting a lot? You guys are like, no, not really, which never was true. Like after that, like every encounter was always fighting.
We thought you meant within ourselves. We never fight with
Yeah.
ourselves.
That's
There's no
actually a good
infighting.
question, though. That's a good question. Like, does Ecclesias think like we're just a bunch of murder hobos, or does he see like the necessity of having to kill Lennon so that we can gain information and gain favor, so we can go on and further do our tasks that we have planned to do, like to dissemble the bureau?
Yeah, I think he
before we
definitely.
know?
I think he definitely sees you all as intelligent and like not just blindly raging like murder hobos. But this is the most violence he's probably seen firsthand, and sparking that fight with Lennon. Because remember when we saw Lennon, like I know this is deviating again, but Ecclesias like sat down and then was honest and just tried to talk. So there's almost like a naivety with Ecclesias that doesn't that the group helps with. But when Cthulhu like barreled back, and then Alar and I went running, we're like, wait a second, it seems odd that we're leaving all of our stuff. So we kind of like went back again and tried to like cool our thoughts. And when we got up there, and then Ecclesias, like we just wanted to quell the situation, because even like our players, when I fairy fired the people inside, and we saw what could have been a scabbard being held, or some poor old man's head with the knife at the throat.
I said it was an assassination from the get. I was like, this man's getting fucking murdered somehow.
Yeah. And see, that was another thing with Ecclesias. Like, Ecclesias isn't constantly thinking about blood and murder and deaths and throats being slit. So it's like, oh, this person's holding a staff or a something else, because there's still like that trying to click
I mean,
over in
I
his
still
brain.
stand by, because I know Jeremy thought that, and obviously they're transferring into Ecclesias. But like, I still believe wholeheartedly that it looked exactly like both. I did not intend that, but
It was a
wholeheartedly
fucking great description. I will say
Yeah,
that.
no,
I-
it was
God,
good.
didn't
That's
plan
some-
that. I fully thought like hand like this. I thought you guys would be like, yeah, sword to throat, let's go.
That's
Like,
some great dungeon
but-
mastering right
Dude,
there.
it really was.
I mean, I
was
planned
a
it.
S tier. It was an
I
S tier like
planned it.
description. Where I was sitting there, I was like, as Cthulhu, I was like, this motherfucker's getting murdered. Like he's seen enough executions where he's like, dude, this guy's getting head chopped off. And that probably plays into like backstories when it comes to that. Like, Ecclesias hasn't seen people like he said, that's the most violence he's ever seen. So he probably hasn't seen people get executed. And
I mean,
all
I
this
would
other,
say,
like, fun stuff.
I would say that's a very rare thing even for the rest of the party.
Well, still, yeah.
Yeah, I think the amount of violence for
hand
everybody is
motion.
probably
I say, yeah,
escalated.
even for you, your parents probably shielded you from that. I doubt that public executions that you were able to like was rare.
Look at
rare if at all. Your parents are like, come.
Look at it, Morty.
Yeah, no. Well, my parents definitely were like the type to be like, no.
Go play
Cartoon
with your
Network.
wooden horse or your wooden chair or your wooden boat. Everything's wood.
Nothing Cartoon Network, go away.
I got a
So-
question for both of you,
Go
real
for it.
quick. When we started to like de-escalate and try to like assuage the with the anxieties of like our assailants, or what could have been, at what point, if there was a point, did you guys switch off? I mean, I know Uridan, you were kind of being held at crossbow point, but at which point of that encounter was it like, okay, we're gonna unsheathing our weapons is the absolute last resort, or was there still parts of you guys that are like, okay, I'm a little salty with the whole being held up, and Cthulhu's just like, well, I gotta attack before they attack us. Was there a flip? Was there a moment that happened, or was it just like once Ecclesias and Alar got there and we're like and trying to help Uridin?
For me personally, I was mostly like, as soon as that guy took his crossbow off my back and we kind of like, that Family Guy thing where everyone just like is walking backwards away from each other very slowly. That's kind of like, all right, we're walking out of here. No bloodshed. Okay, I think it's good.
I'm cool. You're cool. We're cool.
Yeah.
Well, Cthulhu seemed like pretty not bloodthirsty, but admin to be offensive. It was what changed it for Cthulhu? Like when we got there.
Cthulhu didn't want any more blood on his hands because he already blames himself for like Sven. He thinks he is the sole reason for Sven dying.
Yeah.
He thinks that like he looks at it and goes, I am not gonna let another like at this point family member like go away and pass away from my own actions.
Well, it showed good character growth not to just be like, all right, thunderous smite, your eyeballs out.
Right. And so he saw that like as soon as he realized, like he closed his eyes and then saw Sven in his like vision and was like, this is what he did, but I will do it better. And looked at it and was like, drop. And as soon as it worked, he was like, okay, there's no fighting that's going to happen. Like, there's absolutely, like, nothing's going to happen as soon as Erden walks away.
Really glad that worked.
I was going to say, on the flip side
I
of
know.
that,
Really
on the flip side of that
worked.
fail, Erden gets shot in the back and dies.
Mm-hmm.
Right, this is my question for Command. Does it go through his brain and he's like, fuck you, and then shoots the
My
crossbow?
point of view, even if the spell doesn't say it, if you try to cast any sort of mental charm on anyone, if it fails, they know you tried.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Because they
See,
mentally
like-
have to block you out. They mentally have to be like, fuck you. So,
And so that actually goes to the DM. If it did fail, would he go, okay, fuck you, you're trying to do some bullshit,
For
and
sure.
then pull the trigger?
well, for
Really?
sure, because you wouldn't stop walking. June was invisible next to him and wouldn't show herself, and then you try to cast a spell on him. For sure, he would have arrowed to the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And so,
'Cause-
yeah.
well,
that's-
his
that's
control
what
of the
it is about.
situation was Uridin, and everybody wasn't listening to his control. So he's like, well, if I don't have control, I'm dying anyway. Better take someone with me.
And see, that's what that's the reason I have no control of this situation. Like, Uridin's is backed into a corner.
Colonel.
Corner. But
Popcorn.
and then it's like, okay, well, he sees June completely. Like, he knows where June is. Looking around, I don't see her, so he obviously does. What am I gonna do? And then he was like, oh fuck, this is what Sven did for me, so I'm gonna do it for Uridin. And then instantly, like without thought, was like, this is what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna
Has there
save
ever
my
been
friend.
like a D&D campaign like so how you're mentioning that obviously Uridin with the crossbow to his back, you're not metaing where you're like, I got 50 plus health, I can take a full slap to the back. But has there ever been a D&D campaign, do you think, where somebody did legit just get paralyzed from the legs down and then they had to come up with like some sort of
Bran Stark.
yeah,
Ye
so,
old
again,
weird
going back,
character.
to,
Well,
going back to GOT.
I'll
like,
tell
know,
you what. Apparently,
floaty clouds.
it was brought to light by Matt Mercer, but he had like a battle. Not to ruin things, but there's eventually a character who's in a wheelchair, and they're a warrior. And he took that from another person who homebrewed it, and I think it's on the DM's Guild. But there are full mechanics for somebody being a warrior in a wheelchair and statistics and
awesome.
checks and stuff like that. So like, as long as the character would be fine, like maybe like in the episode, hey, you can't feel your legs, but then it can be healed. But I would, if something like that happened, I would totally be down to discussing it with my character or with my player to be like, hey, like there's statistics. Are you open to this? Would it be cool, or do you think it would really
Yeah.
fucking suck?
So like just to play it out, like if they would have got agitated, how would you as a DM made that call? Would have my spine been severed from the waist down, or
Well,
Just
what I
completely
would
Darth
have
Maul.
done was I would have given him an automatic hit and an automatic crit. And then I probably would have given him 3 to 4 more die on top of the 1 die, just to make it, because like, you know, it's point blank, he's hitting
Point blank,
you
yep.
in your spine, and if that took you to 0, then we would have went from there with, you know, maybe I would have thought of that again. But if not, if you were still up, I probably would have given you some sort of disadvantage, like your movement halved or something. But yeah, I would have been shooting from the cuff on that, because even like as a DM going into that, I never thought like, hey, I should make this guy do a lot more damage if he shoots him. Even in the heat of the moment, I may have just given him the crit, and you know, you would have been fine. But yeah, I would have been I would have been fucking rolling from the hip as well. So I would have had no idea then. Thinking about it now, there's cool things we could have done, but I have no idea what I would have done then.
This is actually a question for the DM. Like, what did you think was going to be the outcome? Did you think there was definitely going to be a battle, or there's definitely?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I thought Cthulhu would get them all to fight. Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think that Cthulhu is just gonna fight.
Yeah, you charged
Not
head
in a
in
bad
with,
way, but
with you know, full intent to fight whatever was there, and there was multiple times. The thing with the not moving, that was provoked, and you know, your intention, unintentionally, when you were by the tree line, not really knowing, there was about one more failed or passed check away from all of them just opening fire, because you were getting really close and they were still very nervous. But that one's just on, you know, happenstance. You know, you didn't know they were like right there.
Yeah, like Cthulhu was just making sure his friends are safe.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't think that going in, by the way. Like, I had this encounter planned, obviously from the get, but I didn't think, oh yeah, Cthulhu's totally gonna start a fight. I just, once you charged in, and then Uridan was there, and you weren't stopping moving, I was like, yeah, Cthulhu is gonna start this fight.
There was the way that everything happened, and like, not to skip to like the end of the episode, but
go ahead.
I mean,
we'll be wrapping up in the next 20. So,
well, at the end when you said goodbye, everybody, we'll see you next week. That's my favorite part. No, but the idea, because I mean, we've all been playing our various amounts of D&D, one shots, modules, homebrew campaigns. And it's always like the instinct to want to play like the game, because a lot of the time, because like we're really heavy on role play. We've had multiple episodes, or maybe there's a couple of die rolls, but because we enjoy playing as the character and acting through it. And then there's also like that antsiness to like, okay, now I want some math. I want to roll some numbers. I want to do some damage. I want some math. Just give me some reverse math. But it was so rewarding to know that we found a more, not, I wouldn't say intelligent in the sense where like fighting's unintelligent, but we really tried to do something different, because if we were going to kill anybody, we would have probably won. It might have been a hard battle, because there's people in the trees we found out.
And I tried to make them all kind of give off that vibe, even with the like the first guy, obviously, like, he didn't want to die, and I think it was pretty obvious that like he knew if this turned into a fight, even though he knew that there were 7 other people, he knew that they're gonna probably, especially he knew at least he was gonna die. He was close.
Well, even the two guys that were scouting our camp, they probably saw that we weren't just a bunch of random, bland humanoids just wandering around. We have 2 orcs, Furbolg, which, as far as we know, with the exception of like the tavern and Merk Meadow Spring, there's not a lot around. Especially with like the Tabaxi, there's not a lot around. So like they're probably like, why don't we just back away slowly, hope they don't come by the hut, and then just wait this out until the morning. And Cathay's just like, direwolf beast, and then just books, and it's like, oh shit, this is a bad
Cabby, let's go.
And then everything became, and I try to also make it a point too, and you know, I won't give it too much away, maybe because you might run into them in the future, but I also try to make it seem like, with, you know, because it was very kind that you were offering them rations and stuff, but I also wanted to make them like seem like they're not bad off, you know, they have good armor and they have good weapons, but like they're just not you all, and you know, stuff like that, where, you know,
they're not scientists,
right? And I mean, like, even he, like, you could tell on the main guy, you know, the captain, whatever you want to call him, like, you could tell that he is pretty well off, and the fight would have been interesting, and you know, they probably can hold their own. They're not just like, you know, wandering and they're very hungry and stuff like that. So I try to send that point home too. Yes, Cade.
Question: Were they? Were they?
Did you see that episode of Ellen where Tom Cruise kept raising his hand? Fucking weird.
Right. But were they a part of the Bureau? I know this might be meta as
You
fuck.
have no idea. There's your answer. You have no idea.
That
See,
that is the
see-
definition of meta.
See, that's the thing. Yeah, it is.
Can you give us information that only I know, but the character doesn't know?
Cthulhu sees them and like he sees how well off the armor is and like how
It's not
Plan.
well off. I'm just saying that they're not peasants.
they're not. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's what like he's seen as the Bureau is like they have armor, they're protected, they know what they're doing, they're coordinated, they have a ton of people following them.
Yeah.
He saw this as a Bureau specific attack. Like he saw this as like the Bureau saw this one guy and was like, he has money, I'm gonna take it. And so Cthulhu was like, this is the Bureau, 100% at the end.
Which
mean,
makes
I
sense
don't-
for Cthulhu
yeah.
because he seems really jumpy and like eager to get ahead of
Yeah.
things. And
He's like a crack addict. He doesn't.
but like in hindsight, does Cthulhu see that like that presumption as being a little bit irrational? Just because
Oh,
if it was a
100%,
Bureau, they probably would have shot Uridan. They probably would have just sliced the guy's throat. Or maybe not, because we're also finding out, which is fun with what Fern's doing with the stories. We're finding out that the Bureau isn't necessarily a bunch of bloodthirsty savages. It just happened to be that Goliath. But yeah, as far as like how we wrapped up that encounter, it was much more fulfilling than just. Oh, he's not flying. He's.
Oh
Sailing.
no, I was when you were talking about things. I was like, God damn it! There's like so much I want to discuss, but I can't.
But I can't.
It's like-
You should do
just
a
like talking about
stream.
the Bureau. I was like, yeah, let's. No, fuck you. No, because people clip it. Something. No.
See,
I
that's
will
the thing,
watch
is,
it.
Like, Cthulhu saw that and was like,
Campaign
the
rep.
Bureau is a bunch of bloodthirsty people. That's why it really drove home that this is the Bureau because they
Yeah.
weren't bloodthirsty. They were like, okay, like we're gonna die. We're just doing our mission. Like this is what we were tasked to do. And so Cthulhu was like, alrighty, motherfucker. Because with Cinder, like Cinder was like, I don't want to fight you. Like I know I'm gonna die.
Yeah,
But
I will lose.
help you because of what my mission
Mutual
is to
gain.
do.
Well, he knew
Yeah,
he would die because
mutual
there's
gain.
7 of you and 1 of him.
Exactly.
What about like what about like Uridan? I mean, you again like with your scorekeeper with Cord, not that he's like just be violent by any means necessary, but after that guy stole your weapon and put it in your back, when we finally quelled the situation and had them leave, was there any part of Uridan that's like, you know what, I can get some shots off, like, or
No.
is it like a
Because above all else, it's like honorable to fight, face to face. He's not going to take a dishonorable
Oh,
shot
right.
at someone,
from behind as
after-
they're leaving?
right? And so he's not going to do that. And he's considering we just all talked it through. Like he watched you guys not like get him killed, got close, but he didn't die.
I'm sorry.
So, he's like, okay, my stress is relieved. They're walking away. We're gonna walk our way, and then that's it. He's not gonna be like, you could just pick him off right now.
They would never know. Just like Patriot Arrow, just zigzag through them like you're just hopping in checkers. Just no, can you mute when you type? You just chang chang chang. You should just get like an actual typewriter, not attached to anything, and then just like.
I mean, it is so much more valid because it's Nick, the person who never has mic problems, telling me to watch my mic etiquette.
That's true.
But that's the thing, yeah.
Does
Do anyone think?
Do anyone think the old man in the shelter is really BBEG?
Hell yeah, no, not a.
I feel like you're typing on the
No.
controller.
Did you just hear a ha ha? Yeah. By the way,
No,
you and I are
Cthulhu
fast
doesn't
at that. I used to take just the remote control from Bob, and I'm like, fucking let me type this.
Cthulhu.
I don't-
doesn't
yeah.
think the bad guy or the man in the little shed over there is bad at all. He's actually sorry for what they had to do to him and like what happened to him. So he's like, hey,
Yeah.
like I will help you. Like at the end, he was like, hey, can I make you a lock or like because I have some smith supplies.
I
So
like
he
how
was
you go to that. I don't have a forge or any way to heat metal, but can I make you a lock?
Well, he has like pins and like
Can
leather.
I nail your door shut?
Yeah, can I nail
Basically-
your door shut?
So that's basically what Cthulhu thought. Like that's the funny thing. It's like he was like, I'm gonna nail a piece of leather here, and
Well,
we're
that's
good
the
to
fun
go.
thing is that like the fun thing about Cthulhu being like irrational with like the fighting, and also like you want to help, but it's like irresponsible sometimes. Where you're like, "Can I make you a lock?"
It really is.
And then what if the guy was like, "Oh yes, please. If I had a lock, then my whole life would be so much better." And you're like, "Oh, do you have a forge? No. Do you have any tools? No. Do you have any raw
See, that's
ingots?"
the thing. Dude has
No.
not rules, but has tools, and was like, "Alrighty, I'm gonna do it."
Right.
Yeah.
On top of
But
that
I
too,
don't know how
I was
to
gonna
do
say
it.
on top of that too is because Cthulhu's also very young, so he's also very naive, and he's also not like he's not a smith. You know, he was an apprentice, but he
Yeah,
was
he
only
doesn't shit.
apprentice by birth. So it's like, you know, it's also like maybe a blacksmith could be like, well, there is this campfire, and I mean, if I really tried, I could probably get a forge to get it ironed up a little malleable, you know, but you're just like, I'll fucking nail this door shut.
The thing with Cthulhu is just sitting there. It's just like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. And then, like, as Kate, I'm like, oh fuck, I really can't do this. I have no experience as making locks, making like
Yeah.
a sword before probably, and like it was pretty shitty. Like, so Cthulhu thinks he can do everything that a blacksmith could. But in reality, he can't
you
do
can't.
shit.
Right.
Yeah.
He's sitting there. He's like,
So
what do I do?
the three of you, if you have any questions, think of them really quick. I'm going to ask the one question Jay has, and then I have the final question after. If you guys have none, or after Jay's, whatever it is, I have the final question. So think about some while I ask this to everybody. How, because we have new people here, we have Erden and actually all three of you have not been here as often as Alar,
the
June,
first
and
one.
Zio. Yeah, you haven't even been here since episode 1. So how does everyone feel about the journey so far? Any regrets? And we will start with Jeremy. Go ahead.
Jeremy has regrets all the time. Honestly, Ecclesias it does kind of regret sticking around. And it's like it's not personal with anybody because he feels like the first solid foundational like family that he has, he left, and then now he's with this group of people that seem to get into a lot of shit, and are now telling him like, hey, maybe your family's fucked, man. Like, so now it's like, because again,
Okay,
Ecclesias
Hyde.
has been with the
That was so
What?
high. Hey, maybe your family's fucked, man.
Yeah. But yeah, Ecclesias he's definitely dealing with some regrets about leaving the assembly. Not that he's left, but he's not constantly doing that because remember when we left, this was the first time that Ecclesias was even able to put his name up for contract. And it was like a really big honor. Like, oh shit, like now my name's on the ledger. People can find me and I can do stuff now. And then you guys are like, we gotta go. And I'm like, okay. I'll be right back. And then like while we're on the road, you guys are like, hey, maybe they're bad guys that are controlling your whole thing. And so I'm just like, fuck, why didn't I just stay where I was? I could have been, in 2 to 3 years, I could have been like co-manager. I could have opened up my own shop and had a little bit of family. But now
A
we're just
little
like,
bit of family.
yeah, murder dragons, murder dragons, murder dragons. So he'll leave next episode.
Erden?
So Erden has 3 regrets. The first one is initially.
Battlestar Galactica.
See, I was going with they regret coming to Earth, and they sure as hell regret that
Yeah.
he just blew up their Covenant ass fleet.
Hoorah!
Yeah. Sorry. Serious answer.
Yes. What happened with Sven? The whole everything, and he does hold a little bit of burden on his shoulders too, because one, it was his first friend outside of his own clan and tribe.
Right.
2, the reuniting with Sven was wrong, and he regrets how that happened.
Yeah,
Well-
that was gnarly.
Yeah. And then the last one is leaving Freyas walking. We should have checked out the ports. I wanted to check out the ports really bad.
Now, do you regret that before I said anything?
No, I regret that the whole time, but the whole group was like, we kind of met Zio's trainer man, and then we kind of had a direction, so I just never brought it up.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah, so I would have been cool to check out the ports and been like, oh, maybe Captain Flynn's there, and we can fly on his boat.
You know, I also never even intended that. Like, I didn't even think of the full prospect of, why didn't they just ask to take a boat? Because that, if you would ask, I would have been like, yeah, you could probably, you know, hitch a ride on someone's ship. You know, I mean,
If we hop on boats and we know our DM, I don't think we're ready for pirates.
if I can ask you any
yeah,
questions, if you have long voyages across a bunch of islands, let's just keep it to a higher level so I can have more fun with it. Anyway, Cthulhu.
Well, Cthulhu only has the regret of Sven and not being able to talk to Sven one-on-one alone, because he wanted to give Sven because Cthulhu has had the thought of destroying the music box for a while now, and he wanted Sven to do it to let him have an equal like pain and suffering that he has had to suffer, because he heard the stories of Sven having to see his family again and be pulled away from that, because Cthulhu has had that same feeling. So he looked at it and was like, I'm gonna give Sven this and let him destroy it in front of Cthulhu and let him just absolutely just ruin Cthulhu for a second.
Yeah. What about like heading north this way? Because I know Cthulhu was kind of like, well, we don't really have time and stuff. So as far as like going north, is Cthulhu still kind of like, I told you so. We probably shouldn't be doing this.
Oh, Cthulhu thinks it's a horrible idea because he's in right. He thinks he's in an. He doesn't know anything about this land. He doesn't know anything about Uthron. He doesn't know anything about like. He really doesn't know anything.
Snow.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't know anything about Solaria either, so he doesn't know the correlation that they have, like the war binding like tension they have, because he came from a clan that was already like a super war heavy clan and was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
And came back to a war heavy area. So he sat there and was like, what the fuck am I gonna do?
Well, you're here now and you can't leave.
Exactly, but that the thing is Foltest told him, like, this is who you have to follow. Like, it happened ago. Foltest came down and was like, this is your family now. Like, this is your sole reason to live. And so he was like, okay, I will follow them and follow them till death.
Why can't Cord tell me that shit? Goddamn.
Right? And see, that's the thing, is like, Cthulhu saw that and was like, okay. Even if they make a stupid decision that I do not agree with, I will go forward. And see, that's what he saw, and was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. And so he doesn't really have a regret, because his god literally told him, like, hey, follow these people until they die. Follow these people. And so he's just done that since, except for the
Right.
like charging off and like kill me or get killed kind of thing.
Die or be dead.
Right? That's the thing. And so
Cool.
he doesn't really have a regret otherwise.
I think everybody kind of regrets Sven. You know, I mean, you probably regret rolling him.
Oh, 100%.
How absolutely dare you? You take that back.
But before I finish off with the last question, do any of you have any quick questions you'd like to ask me or the players? Yes.
I have a
Stop
question.
raising your hand. By the way,
I
is
know.
that a jar of Parmesan?
It
I
is-
was wondering that too.
it is 100% a jar of Parmesan cheese.
Hiding an empty Coke bottle.
We're getting off topic.
Yes,
your
but
question.
I have a question for Uridin. How does Uridin feel that like Cthulhu didn't buy technically, because Sven paid for it all, but to Uridin's knowledge, he bought them that ring. How does Uridin feel about that ring?
Fucking warm as hell.
Ooh.
No, he's super
Toasty.
grateful. But he, is if Cthulhu were to be like, hey, let me see that ring, he would, you know, he knows it's not his to keep, and if someone in the party's getting like, you know, frostbite up the wazoo, then he'll pass it over for a day.
Does Uridan have any knowledge about like how magical items work or anything, or no?
I mean, he doesn't really study or know anything arcane, but he knows that they exist.
Fair enough.
Because I mean, we've seen Alar's sword, we've seen Goliath's fucking
Right.
spear, the ring I carry. So, and he knows magic is a thing because there's like, you know, shamans and type stuff
Well,
in
and
his
your
tribe.
arrows are imbued with magic too, so even there.
Yep. But I mean, that's what he thinks is a gift from Cord,
Right,
as
right.
far as he knows.
But you know, it's like it is some sort of magic. You know, whether it's a cast
Correct,
or divine.
yeah.
With a K.
Well, to kind of finish out the episode, and I 100%, I'm telling
Chapter.
you, do not answer this as a compliment to me. I am just curious as your mental state, because Jeremy was hyped when I said it. The way I finished the episode saying that you guys have been able to liberate a town all the way down to freeing a lowly fish farmer, showing that you guys have the capability of protecting the entire spectrum. Hearing that, reflecting on it, how do you guys feel about it, and what are your thoughts? In the moment, what was your feeling, and then kind of what are your thoughts thinking about it now? And
I feel like we should be level 11, but that's fine.
and we'll start with Kate on this one.
I feel very like fulfilled. Cthulhu has finally found like that weird peace between like losing and having, and like was finally able to solve a situation without violence. And so he sat there and was like, I've done this without hurting anybody and killing and sending people to the afterlife. And so I am happy that I was able to do this. Cthulhu was filled with joy that he was like, fuck yeah, I was able to talk somebody out of murdering my friend.
Awesome. Jeremy?
I mean, my favorite thing about it is that it just shows that there are more ways to go about progressing the storyline than just constantly killing, which I feel like a lot of D&D campaigns can get into. And just from following millions of pages online, it seems like it's a constant trope so much that it's become a meme about the murder hobo and all that stuff. So it's fun to show that we have the capability of using our words more than our weapons. But the idea that we can go in and potentially liberate an entire town, and we don't even necessarily know that Freyas was in danger, like the people were in danger, but being able to collectively help a bunch of people at once, and then also just like the single person, it's like we don't try to prioritize by numbers, we prioritize by our morality. And I feel like the fun thing about this episode is that it really showed the party's morality get in line, because we've had all the silly conversations of like what constitutes as good and what's actually evil, Alar. And but yeah, my favorite thing about last session is that it was just as exciting as like rolling the dice to see if you hit, to see if the spells work. It was a constant maneuvering of, if I say the wrong thing, it's just like that part in Inglourious Bastards when they all have guns drawn and they like, okay, I mean, it eventually ends into bloodshed, but yeah, I just like that we have that wide spectrum of being able to help. Doesn't matter how big or how small.
Yeah, it is really fun. Eddie?
I think Jeremy summed it up pretty well. Same kind of thought process, you know. I like the fact that we can, you know, better analyze an encounter and use our words first, and then we can only go so far with them. Then that's when we start, you know, dealing damage and stuff. But you know, liberating the city hasn't really even dawned on Hurden yet. You know, he doesn't, you know, it's just like the guy whose job it is to like clean up after concerts or something. Like he's just like picking up cups, and that's like, nope, on to the next menu. Let's
I was
pick
gonna
up
say,
some
it
more
was
cups.
kind of a flash in the pan too. Like you guys were only there for a night.
Yeah, but it was just, yeah, it was kind of like job's done,
Mm-hmm.
and then they moved on, you know. So
You're a little
there was no revelry. The town seemed like it was, like Jeremy said, wasn't like, you know, destitute, or there was no like no people in chains or being like, you know, spit on and all that stuff. but
Yeah.
like it was just I don't know. It like you said, a flash in the pan. Like so, it hasn't really stuck into Erden yet. He's still kind of processing things. I think maybe at this point in time, him not knowing where his tribe is, like after him at least, like could be at the forefront of his mind, and so he's just going through the motions and just keeping his head low.
Awesome. And I will say, maybe someone mark it down for our campaign recap when we're all done. Freyas was not meant to be a flash in the pan. I had other things that were going to happen, and I had to change the plan. And I can't wait to tell you
Oops.
what that will be in the future. But
Who changed it?
I did.
Oh,
But on that, we will conclude this week's episode of Exploring. It's actually exploring
got it
the
now.
archives. We found the L. It fell. There's a long log. We have a savings and a checkings, and it takes a couple days to move it over from my savings to my
Got
checkings.
lost in the archives.
Yeah,
It was-
exactly.
it was behind Zio's picture the whole time.
Ah, yeah. You know, it should be behind Zio's picture, his face, but it's not.
We'll get that pretty face on the internet so
Yeah.
that the eye can see him.
But thank you
They
for
already
everybody that
see
hung out today. We will not be doing a raid. I think we will be keeping that to our Friday sessions so we can give more love to people when we do raid. But if anybody is interested, I will actually I'll just drop a link to a friend in our chat so somebody can go and say hello if they like. And that is you just heard something from him. Because my desktop audio. But there's Swindler's Den. You can go give them some love. But thank you everybody that hung out. Make sure you join us on Friday for the next chapter, chapter 26 of the Arcane Archives at 7 p.m. Eastern here on Twitch, where we can see the next leg of the journey north to Summit's Peak to meet Cain and eventually get to Uthran and find out what is going on between these two massive kingdoms. Thank you everybody that stuck around. We love you all. We will see you very soon. Take care. Much love. We'll see you on Friday. Bye-bye.